Miraculous revelations from Ephesians, 12 divine lessons for supernatural transformation today. In the quaint rural village of Stonecrest, the air crackled with anticipation as the local chapel stood aglow under the moonlight. Inside, flickering candles cast dancing shadows, illuminating the faces of the faithful who gathered for an extraordinary night of prayer. This wasn't just any night, it was a night when their deepest longings converged, fueled by Sarah's unwavering faith in God's incredible power, coupled with the divine truths rooted in Ephesians. Whispers of miraculous revelations hung in the air, promising supernatural transformations that could shake their foundations. The atmosphere was rich with the scent of wax and fresh prayers. As hymns floated softly, hearts beat in rhythm with hope. Pastor John's voice beckoned, strong yet tender. God can do more than we can ask or imagine. He proclaimed, drawing everyone into the warmth of shared belief. At the heart of it all stood Sarah, her spirit bright even in her son's despair, an embodiment of light amid shadow, yet, as hope began to awaken, the door creaked open. A figure cloaked in shimmering garments stepped inside, an impressive healer known for his miraculous touch. The room buzzed with excitement as he promised immediate relief and prosperity. Why wait for divine intervention, when I can deliver you results today? He grinned, eyes glinting like polished jewels. Faith wrestled with desire in the hearts of the villagers. Sarah felt an unsettling tug below her strong convictions. The allure of instant relief danced dangerously close to her sacred trust in God's plan. The murmurs swelled, dividing their once unified community. Miracles are meant to be quick, aren't they? A voice called from the back, echoing doubt. Before they could recognize the gravity of their choices, Pastor John's steady voice rose above the murmurings. Remember, dear ones, our faith isn't measured by the immediacy of results, but by the depth of our prayers. A hush fell over the chapel as renewed determination infused the air. They closed their eyes and began to call upon heaven, their prayers intertwining like vines of hope. Lord, we trust you, Sarah whispered, anchoring her heart to the unseen. As the night deepened, something extraordinary began to unfold. A shimmering light enveloped them, pulsing softly with a heartbeat all its own. Gasps traveled through the crowd as tears of awe graced their cheeks. The soft glow crept closer until it filled the entire chapel, bathing everything in warmth and peace. Each person felt the presence, a mystical connection to the divine that spiraled within them. Suddenly, in the midst of fervent prayer, Sarah's son, a boy they had all prayed for, began to stir. His fragile form trembled as a spark lit up his entire being. He is moving. Someone cried. The congregation gasped with disbelief, eyes wide, as life ignited in the boy's weary body. All doubt faded into gasps, then shouts of joy as they beheld the impossible manifesting before them. Laughter, tears, and praise erupted, surrounding Sarah like a protective embrace. This miracle ignited a flame that surged within their hearts, knitting them into a united tapestry of faith. Yet, amidst the rejoicing, uncertainty loomed large. What did this healing mean for their community? Were they ready to accept the truths this miracle unveiled? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the divine light began to fade, a stirring in their hearts lingered. Would they hold on to the miracle that had illuminated their faith? Or would they be swayed by the tempting promises of the healer? Their journey was far from over. With trust flickering like the last candle, they stood at a crossroads, waiting for the next chapter to reveal itself, a chapter that could change everything. As the echoes of joy faded, the villagers slowly settled into a contemplative silence. The miraculous event had left each heart tingling with a mix of wonder and unease. They looked around, not just at one another, but inwardly, contemplating the transformation that had taken place. The chapel, once filled with the static energy of hope, now rested in a profound, sacred hush. Sarah knelt on the wooden floor, feeling every fiber of her being resonate with gratitude. Her son, though still fragile, nestled between the folds of her dress, his eyes blinking as if waking from a deep slumber. She cupped his small face in her hands, wanting to memorize this moment forever. "My love, you're back," she whispered tenderly, tears tracing paths down her cheeks, but even as her heart brimmed with joy, shadows of doubt crept back. The healer's presence lingered, like an echo of temptation against the walls. Was their miracle simply the result of faith, or had they permitted something outside of God's design to infiltrate their blessed gathering? Sarah felt a shiver ripple through her. She could have so easily been lured into believing that the healer's promises would suffice. Around her, anxious glances were traded among the villagers. Some spoke of the healer with reverence, praising the way he seemed to possess extraordinary gifts. Others, however, felt the urgency of returning to the purity of their faith. One elderly woman, quivering with emotion, broke the silence. "What does this mean for us? Hasn't God shown us that true healing and hope come in His time and His way?" Pastor John's voice rose once again, imbued with a gentle strength. "Indeed, miracles belong to the Lord. The healer may bring momentary relief, but it is God who heals the spirit. We must remember where our true reliance lies." The villagers nodded, recognizing the weight of his words. Yet, in their hearts, the question loomed larger: how would they proceed now? The atmosphere thickened with expectation. A murmur of prayers filled the air, rising in harmony as they sought discernment. With closed eyes, they focused on the warmth that enveloped them, a tangible reminder of God's presence. Sarah pulled away from her son just enough to catch the eye of her neighbor, Hannah. "What will we do?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Hold firm," Hannah replied, a hint of determination coloring her tone. "We embrace the miracle, but tread carefully, for the path ahead requires wisdom." These words hit softly yet powerfully, echoing in the hearts of many. Suddenly, the flickering candle flames surged, as if responding to their collective faith. An unexpected wind swept through the chapel, rustling papers and lifting spirits. The shimmering light reappeared, more vibrant than before, filling the room with a divine shimmer. An overwhelming peace flooded Sarah's heart. She understood then that the miracle was not just about physical healing but about the community's unity in faith. They were being reminded that true miracles were birthed in trust. Yet, as she looked around, Sarah could see the mixture of hope and fear in the faces of her friends. What truths were yet to be revealed? How would they navigate this newfound energy, tempered by the Spirit of God and their collective desires? As the light deepened, every soul felt the weight of an impending decision. The question that hung in the air was potent, a divine mystery waiting to unfold. What would they choose: faith in the promise of God or be swayed by promises that sparkled with deception? With hearts pounding in anticipation, the villagers prepared for a path that could redefine their understanding of miracles. Little did they know, the next revelation was already on the cusp of arrival. The atmosphere swelled with anticipation, as though heaven itself was holding its breath. Sarah's heart raced, each beat echoing the collective pulse of her friends, family, and neighbors. What lay ahead felt like a threshold, trembling with the weight of their hopes and fears. Pastor John stepped forward, his presence felt like an anchor in the shifting tides. "Let us take a moment," he urged, "to still our hearts and listen." The villagers quieted, drawn into a sacred hush, the flickering candlelight dancing in rhythm with their breaths. "Lord," he began, his voice steady yet tender, "we come before you in humility. Show us the path you desire for us." The words hung in the air, pregnant with expectation. Each villager, eyes closed, opened the door of their hearts to truth, seeking heavenly clarity. As they waited, another pulse of energy coursed through the room. One villager, young Timothy, whose boyish face was framed by eagerness, gasped. "Look!" he exclaimed, pointing towards the chapel's altar where a new shimmering light appeared, white and golden, more brilliant than before. A silence enveloped everyone, chemistry shifting as if the very air had thickened with divine presence. The light began swirling, taking shape. With every undulating motion, whispers of assurance brushed past their ears. It was a gently flowing melody of love, grace, and truth, beckoning them closer to understanding. Sarah felt her heart leap, a deep assurance blossoming as if the Spirit was wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Revelation. Hannah whispered, leaning closer to Sarah. The older woman's eyes glimmered. It's a sign. God is speaking. Pastor John raised his hands, an invitation to embrace whatever message might come next. Let us keep our hearts open, he declared, his voice firm yet soft. The flickering lights began to coalesce into words, brilliant and radiant, as if etched upon the air itself. Faith is a journey, not a destination, they formed, lighting up the room. Each letter shimmered with warmth, wrapping around the villagers, enveloping their doubts and fears. Trust in me, and you will see that I am working in ways beyond your understanding. Gasps erupted as hearts swelled. Hope surged among them like a living tide. Sarah closed her eyes and surrendered, allowing the message to penetrate every doubt, every fear. The depth of divine love washed over her, reminding her that the healer might provide temporary solutions, but the doctor of souls, the Lord, knows what is needed for lasting transformation. Isn't it beautiful? Whispered Timothy's voice, his awe infectious as the light danced with more intensity. Even the most stoic villager felt a stir within, as warmth spread through their beings, yet still, in the back of Sarah's mind, uncertainty lingered. Could they embrace this miracle fully while remaining cautious of outside influences? The reality of the choice loomed larger. Would they merge their faith with understanding, or risk it amid the allure of worldly promises? As the glowing letters began to fade, a profound stillness followed, echoing in the hearts of everyone present. There was so much more ahead. Just imagine what else God has in store for us. Pastor John's voice returned, imbuing the air with stirring possibility. Every villager felt the charge of potential vibrate through them, uniting them in mission. Questions filling the air once more lingered. What awaited them as they stepped forward? How would they discern the path that was set before them, illuminated by faith and the divine whispers? With the flicker of candlelight guiding them, they were ready to choose the way of promise. And so, they readied their hearts for the journey ahead, aware that within the great mystery lay the answers they sought. Little did they realize, the call was just beginning, and answers unfold when least expected. The weight of expectation settled as the last glowing letters faded into the ether, leaving only the gentle warmth of hope lingering in the air. Sarah opened her eyes, the world around her transformed. The chapel, with its rough-hewn wooden beams and worn pews, felt alive, buzzing with an energy that transcended mere wood and stone. It seemed as though the very fabric of their reality had shifted, opening her heart to a deeper truth. Pastor John looked among the villagers, his gaze steady. The flicker of candlelight reflected in his eyes, a beacon of divine purpose. What an amazing gift we've received today, he spoke, his voice filled with warmth and reverence. God's light has touched us, and we stand on the edge of something magnificent. Timothy bounced on his feet, his youthful spirit embodying the room's fervor. What do we do now, Pastor? How do we go forward? His question hung in the air, ringing with innocence yet echoing with a profound depth. Ah, great question, Timothy. Pastor John smiled, drawing everyone's attention. Just as light needs a vessel to shine, our faith too needs action. We need to step out in trust, knowing that we are guided. A ripple of murmurs passed through the congregation as each face reflected their own thoughts. Some might have felt uncertain, while others sparkled with anticipation. The freshness of revelation brought a mixture of courage and trepidation. Suddenly, Hannah, with her wide-brimmed hat, raised her hand gently, as though caressing the idea that had taken root in her mind. But Pastor, how do we truly trust when the world is shouting louder than the whispers of the Spirit? How do we keep the faith in moments of doubt? Her question pierced the silence, opening a window into vulnerability. It wasn't just Hannah feeling the weight of doubt, it resonated with each villager in various degrees. As their hearts beat together, the flicker of uncertainty stubbed its toe against the firm ground of shared experience. Doubt is a part of the journey, Hannah, Pastor John replied thoughtfully. We must learn to hold our questions and our faith simultaneously. The scriptures remind us that even the greatest among us men and women of strong faith faced moments of uncertainty. But in those moments, they chose to press in closer to God. Sarah nodded, feeling a soft tug in her heart. Inspiration flowed through her as Timothy's bright eyes reflected back her own resolve. Perhaps their real strength lay in the willingness to step forward even when the path was foggy. Together, we can create a community of support, Pastor John added, his voice warming with conviction. Let us share our journeys, our struggles, and our victories. That's where grace flourishes with shared burdens and blended faith. Encouraged, the villagers shared their hopes and fears, creating a beautiful tapestry of resilience. Each story combined with another, weaving an intricate design of faith. And then, a whisper of wind flitted through the chapel, causing the candles to flicker once more. The light pulsed as though breathing with life, igniting a fresh wave of reverence. Perhaps we are called not only to receive but to share this light, Sarah spoke, her voice steady and clear among the rest. What if we stepped out into our community, shining brightly with faith? What if each of us became a vessel of this light? A collective understanding dawned upon them. Hope blossomed in their hearts, ready to spill into the world. They recognized they wouldn't just hold on to faith within these walls, they'd take it into every corner of their lives. As they envisioned the journey ahead filled with sacred encounters and divine purposes, Pastor John raised his hands again, inviting them back into stillness. Let us pray, that God's will be done in our lives and communities. With their hearts united in prayer, the energy within the room pulsed, vibrating with expectancy. Yet, deep within Sarah's heart, another sense stirred, a warm challenge that didn't allow complacency to settle. What would be the first step in their calling? How could they take that faith beyond their little chapel? The answers waited just on the horizon, beckoning them closer into the vast, wonderful unknown that lay ahead. The church bell tolled, its sound resonating deep within their spirits. Sarah felt the vibration ripple through her, gently urging her toward action, toward the unknown that awaited them outside of the chapel. A sense of urgency gripped her heart as she surveyed the villagers around her. Pastor John broke the stillness with gentle authority. We are called to be the light the world desperately needs. But first, we must seek clarity in purpose. What is God asking of us? Timothy, still filled with youthful exuberance, stood tall among the quieter souls. Could we, help the families in need down by the river? They've been struggling since the storm swept through. At the mention of their neighbor's plight, an electric charge of agreement pulsed through the group. Sarah felt her heart swell. The call to love had never been more potent. Absolutely, Timothy. Pastor John nodded, his voice steady and filled with compassion. Acts of kindness can bridge hearts. Faith without works, after all, is dead. Heads nodded in unison. They felt the truth in those words, resonating with their spirits. Hannah spoke up again, her brow furrowed with concern. But how can we be sure our efforts will matter? What if we fail? A heavy silence settled once again. Sarah watched as some shifted uneasily in their seats. But she knew the answer lay not in perfection but in the journey itself. Faith is not always about the outcome, she finally said, her voice calm and soothing, it's about the willingness to try. Sometimes even the smallest acts can bring the greatest change. Remember the story of the mustard seed? Several villagers nodded, recalling the parable's powerful message. Like that tiny seed, our actions, no matter how small, have the potential to grow into something magnificent in God's hands, Sarah continued, her excitement rising. She felt the warmth of connection, of shared belief, wrapping around them. Pastor John smiled, clearly moved by Sarah's words. And just as light shines brightest in the dark, so too does our love shine in moments of adversity, he said. Let's gather supplies, food, blankets, anything we can offer. We'll show them they are not alone. God is with us. Encouragement rippled through the congregation. Villagers began recalling what they could spare. Boxes of non-perishables, warm clothes, and blankets filled the aisles as friends organized themselves into teams, ready to spring into action. As they gathered materials, the atmosphere became electric. Joy mingled with purpose, wrapping around them like a blanket of hope. Each moment felt charged with divine potential as Sarah moved in and out of conversations, offering a hand here, a smile there. She spotted a child, alone, clinging to a small toy. The innocence in his eyes pulled at her heart. "What's your name, little one?" she asked gently, crouching down to his level. "Elliot," he whispered, eyes wide. "Elliot," Sarah echoed, her heart warming. "We're going to bring light and help to those in need. Would you like to help us?" His face lit up. "Yes." In that moment, Sarah realized that the light wasn't just about bold actions, it was also about the quiet acts of reaching out, of touching lives in meaningful ways. As they finished gathering supplies, a tender silence fell over the group. Pastoral John led them in a prayer of gratitude and asking for guidance, his voice blending with theirs like an orchestra of faith. "Lord, bless our efforts, may our hearts be open as we serve your people." With each word, hope filled the room. Sarah felt it wash over her, breathing life into her faith. She looked around her, witnessing a community transformed. Each face reflected courage mingled with trepidation, but also a radiant light of purpose. More than anything, she felt God's presence among them, gently propelling them forward. As they prepared to leave, a soft wind stirred through the chapel once more. It carried with it a sense of divine awareness, igniting the potential that lay ahead. But then, an unexpected thought flitted through Sarah's mind. What if this first act was just the beginning? What would unfold in its wake? The questions lingered like the scent of candles in the air, urging them onward into the unknown. With the supplies gathered and the prayers sung, the villagers made their way toward the river, hearts ablaze with purpose. The air was filled with anticipation, and unspoken promise lingered among them. Each step felt heavy yet liberating, as if the ground beneath their feet was both a familiar path and a new beginning. Sarah walked beside Pastor John, her thoughts a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Do you think they will be waiting for us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper as the breeze teased her hair. "I believe they will," Pastor John replied, his eyes shining with faith. Hope has a way of drawing people together. When one heart reaches out, others are compelled to respond. Their journey unfolded beneath the golden hues of the afternoon sun, painting the landscape in warmth. Sarah glanced at Timothy and Hannah as they joked lightly, laughter bubbling up freely, cutting through any lingering anxiety. The sight brought an anchoring sense of peace. This was a community united, each individual a luminous thread woven into the tapestry of hope. As they approached the riverbank, the scene before them was both heartbreaking and beautiful. Families huddled close under makeshift shelters, eyes filled with a mixture of weariness and wonder. The strong currents of the river seemed to rage with all the storms that had battered their homes, but here, amidst the chaos, was the steadfast love of a community ready to lend a hand. "Look!" Timothy exclaimed, pointing. "They're gathering around." Indeed, as the villagers moved closer, a few children began to emerge, drawn by the vibrant energy of the group. Their tiny faces turned toward the newcomers with hesitant smiles, tentative but touched by an unexplainable light. Sarah knelt down, catching the eye of a little girl clutching a ragged doll. "Hi there," she said, her heart nearing overflow. "What's your name?" "Annie," the girl replied shyly, her voice as soft as the breeze. "Annie, we've brought some things to help you and your family," Sarah said, gesturing to the gathered supplies. "Can you show us where your home is?" Annie hesitated for a moment before nodding excitedly, her eyes brightening with the promise of connection. As they made their way toward the families, Pastor John led them in a prayer. "Heavenly Father, may these gifts be a sign of your love and provision. Let us be instruments of your grace today, bringing hope where it is needed most." The prayer echoed over the river like a chorus, lifting the spirits of all who listened. Hope clung to the air, palpable and sweet. With that, the villagers began distributing food and warm blankets, each act met with grateful eyes and soft murmurs of thanks. Sarah felt a shift within her as she engaged with the families, laughter mingling with tears of gratitude. Each child that hugged her tightly gave her soul deeper understanding of love's profound impact. Suddenly, a commotion arose near the edge of the village. A small crowd had gathered around a man resting against a tree, his expression a mixture of exhaustion and desperation. "He's been injured during the storm," someone called, worry lacing their voice. Without hesitation, Sarah, Pastor John, and a few others rushed over. As Sarah knelt beside the man, her heart raced, but she felt a surge of strength wash over her. "What can we do to help?" she asked earnestly, her hands poised for service. I can't walk," he gasped, pain etched on his face. In that moment, as others offered water and assistance, Sarah remembered how Jesus had healed the broken and despaired. She glanced at the crowd, feeling the collective prayer rising like incense. "Let us lift him together," she called, inspired by the Holy Spirit. As they joined forces, Sarah felt an extraordinary warmth envelop them. It was as if they were not just lifting a man but also the heavy burdens of hopelessness that clung to everyone present. In that embrace of unity, Sarah understood a new truth: faith transforms when it meets action. As the man was carried toward safety, the glow of divine possibility shone brighter than the sun. Overhead, with every step forward, Sarah realized this was but the beginning. What more could God reveal through their simple deeds? What miracles might await just beyond their grasp? And as the crowd began to cheer, hope ignited a longing in her heart, whispering expectation of greater wonders ahead. As the man was settled gently onto a makeshift bed of blankets, the air twinkled with a strange electricity. Sarah looked around at the faces surrounding her. Curiosity and relief battled in their expressions. Pastor John knelt beside her, the well of compassion in his voice deepening. "Let South gather close and pray once more," he urged, and those present formed a circle, hands clasping in unity. The man's haggard face slowly relaxed as Pastor John's voice floated over them, a soothing balm for the weary. "Lord, we ask for healing and strength for our brother. Restore him, O God, and renew his spirit. Let your love rain down on all who are gathered here." As the prayer lingered in the warm air, Sarah felt a gust of wind rustle the leaves, as if the Spirit was responding. She closed her eyes tightly and opened her heart fully. In her mind's eye, she pictured the man, vibrant and whole, standing in the glow of God's presence, laughing with joy. A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't understand why she felt this way, but she could feel something shifting within her, something profound. When she opened her eyes, the man was gazing back at her, a spark igniting in his weary eyes. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice laced with unexpected strength. "Thank you for believing." Suddenly, Hannah rushed forward breathless, her eyes bright and wide. "There's more. Come quick," she exclaimed. The villagers turned, curiosity ignited. Sarah caught Timothy's concerned expression, but she felt an inexplicable pull to follow. They hurried in the direction Hannah had come from, and as they approached, a commotion grew. A few steps away, an old woman was calling out, desperately waving her arms. "My daughter! Someone help her!" Fear-tinged desperation punctuated her cries. Sarah's heart plummeted, a deep chill wrapping around her. "What happened?" she pleaded, reaching the woman's side. "She fell into the river. She's caught. Please." The woman sobbed, the weight of anguish hanging heavily on her shoulders. "Pastor John!" Sarah called out, urgency fueling her voice. The pastor's leadership shined through, and he quickly rallied a group of willing villagers. "We can't wait. Gather ropes and branches. We must form a line." The air buzzed with adrenaline as hands darted to gather anything that could help. Sarah joined in, frantically tying knotted ropes together. They needed every ounce of strength and courage to affirm their belief in miracles. As they formed a human chain along the riverbank, Sarah glanced at the water-turbulent waves crashing against rocks, slick with danger. It seemed a relentless force that threatened to consume hope. She took a deep breath, summoning the power within. In her heart, a prayer rose: flickering like a candle against the storm. "We can do this," she whispered, watching her fellow villagers lock eyes, determination rising. One by one, they leaned forward, extending the ropes into the frothing waters. "Hold tight," she called to whoever was out there, believing God would guide their rescue. The moment felt suspended in time, each of them bound by the unseen thread of faith. If one faltered, they all would. But if they held steady, perhaps miracles were possible. A sudden splash shattered the air as they felt a tug, a heartbeat of movement amid the foam. Hope soared like a flame rekindled. With careful resolve, they pulled, straining against the elements. Laughter mixed with prayers, causing the very essence of hope to tremble and dance. At that moment, Sarah grasped a new understanding. Every act of compassion and courage rippled through the universe, creating waves of divine promise. What lessons awaited them in the flow of this journey? Just as the woman's daughter began to emerge from the depths, another voice rose above the roar of the river. "What if we don't succeed?" It called out, slicing through the buoyant air. Each heart paused, the weight of doubt mingling with their faith, as stillness held its breath. In that heavy moment, the air thick with tension, Sarah felt an inner quake. The words hung like a fog, creeping into the hearts of those gathered, whispering seeds of uncertainty. Yet, almost instinctively, Sarah reached out and took hold of Timothy's hand, an anchor in that swirling sea of doubt. "Remember what we just prayed for," she called back to the chain of volunteers. "We are here for her. God can work through us." Her voice rang clear, cutting through the thick fog of fear. The group nodded, faith pooling like honey, sweet and thick among them. They pulled harder, together, inching closer to the brink of what seemed an impossible task. Each tug of the ropes embodied their unity, their shared belief that God was with them in this desperate moment. The water was wild, but so was their faith. "Keep going. We're almost there." Pastor John's steady voice added to the symphony of encouragement. It was like the earth itself was vibrating with anticipation, a divine resonance echoing through their hearts. With one final heave, they felt a more profound tug than before, a human weight driving the rope down. Gasps erupted like bubbles bursting through the foamy surface, breaking the tension into a holy explosion of hope. And then, they saw her. A figure emerged, struggling at first, but then breaking through the surface with unyielding tenacity. The young girl was alive. Her hair, dripping, her face bruised but bright with clarity, she reached for the ropes, grasping them with every ounce of strength that remained. "Pull her in," Sarah cried, her heart ablaze with fervor. Together, with sheer will, they hoisted the girl from the grasp of the raging river. The moment felt electric, charged with divine purpose. As she flopped onto the riverbank, gasping for breath, cheers erupted from the group. Joy intertwined with relieved cries rang through the air, a sweet melody of triumph that echoed over the tumultuous waters. The mother rushed forward, collapsing beside her daughter, tears spilling freely in a cascade of gratitude. "What a miracle!" someone shouted, the truth resounding among them. Hope had danced in the air before, but now it flickered and exploded around them, lighting them from within. Sarah's heart swelled with a warmth that felt almost tangible, but just as joy began weaving itself into the fabric of their souls, Sarah noticed something flickering in the corner of her eye. It was a shimmer, a presence gliding just out of view along the water's edge. She turned her gaze, only to find that the atmosphere had shifted. All around them, faces shone with the brilliance of relief, yet the river had momentarily stilled. It was as if time had paused. A whisper permeated the air, gentle yet demanding. "There are more miracles waiting, if only you can believe." A chill ran down Sarah's spine, mingling with an exhilarating excitement. What lay beyond this miraculous act? What further revelations awaited them in the shadows of faith? As wonder bubbled within, uncertainty returned to stir, confronting Sarah's heart. What if this was just the beginning? She pondered, seeking answers among the faces around her. The flickering light reminded her that there was still uncharted territory before them, filled with the promise of deeper connections, encounters with the divine unfolding. As they leaned more into their faith journey, gathering her breath, she focused on the river, the shimmering surface now reflecting more than just light. It was as if the waters were alive, a harbinger of the extraordinary. Would they dare to step closer? Would the brave hearts of her community galvanize into even greater acts of love and faith? The tide was turning, and within that sacred space, a single question echoed: what divine mysteries awaited them just beyond the shores of their understanding? The girl, now safely in the arms of her mother, lay on the riverbank, catching her breath. The crowd gathered around her, faces lit with joy, as the mother cradled her child, murmuring prayers of thanks. In that raw moment of gratitude, an invisible thread of connection wove through their hearts. They were drawn together, not just by circumstance, but by shared faith that had sparked something larger than themselves. But the flickering shimmer by the water still called to Sarah, an urgent whisper beckoning her deeper. She hesitated, then turned to Timothy. "Do you see it?" she asked, motioning toward the edge of the river. He squinted, following her gaze, his brow furrowing. "There's a light," he replied slowly, a mix of curiosity and awe threading through his voice. It's different this time." The crowd around them began to quiet, an unspoken awareness rising, as if they could read the sacred possibility in the air. Sarah felt her heart race. What were they being summoned to witness? Pastor John approached them, still radiating the essence of divine encouragement. "Sometimes," he said softly, eyes shining like stars, "God reveals himself through moments of divine need. We've seen a miracle today, but perhaps he's inviting us to explore more wonders." Sarah nodded, his words resonating deep within her. She called to the group, "Let us not rush away. There's something here for us." Her voice bore a quality of gentle authority that held the crowd still, eager to discover what lay beyond their recent victory. With each step they took toward the river's edge, a tangible sense of peace washed over them. The shimmering grew brighter, a luminescent glow dancing and beckoning them. It felt alive, wrapping around them, inviting deeper exploration. As they gathered closer, Sarah recalled the prayer they offered moments before. "God can work through us," the words echoed, reminding her that faith wasn't just passive acceptance but an active pursuit of the divine. The river sighed, a gentle wind stirring, as if the water itself carried whispers of hope and secrets yet untold. "We have to believe," she said, her voice rising above the rhythm of the current. "Believe that our next steps are guided by him." Those words struck a chord. Slowly, hands began to clasp together, voices rising in harmony, affirming their collective faith. Each individual held a piece of a puzzle that only divine revelation could complete. They prayed not merely for themselves, but for an awakening that would shake the very foundations of their understanding. "Let us be expectant," Pastor John added, his eyes shining with fervor. "Each soul here has faced storms, but together we can witness more than this day has already shown." The shimmer pulsed brighter, responding to their faithful hearts. A soft current swirled at their feet, pulling at them gently, beckoning them to lean in. It was as if the possibility of miracles stretched beyond the riverbank, a promise that unbeknownst to them, their faith journey was far from over. But with that invitation came a deeper mystery. What awaited them on this journey? What sacred truths lingered just beneath the surface of their understanding, waiting to be revealed? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the air thick with expectancy, Sarah felt the shift in the atmosphere, the arrival of a divine orchestration. She glanced at the eager faces around her, anticipation shimmering in each pair of eyes. "Will you join me?" she asked, heart swelling. "Will we step into the unknown together?" And with that question lingering in the warm twilight, a divine silence enveloped them, pregnant with possibilities. What sacred lessons awaited them in their willingness to venture forth? The evening sky transformed into a dazzling array of colors, casting golden light upon the riverbank, where hope had taken root. The villagers stood together, hearts beating in a new cadence of faith, empowered by the miracles they had witnessed. It was here, at the convergence of life and light, that Sarah felt a shift within her soul. Each miracle had not only changed their circumstances but also deepened their unity, gathered like a bouquet of flowers, vibrant and unique, yet bound together with unseen threads of divine purpose. "We've seen the hand of God today," she spoke, her voice carrying the weight of every encounter they had shared. Let us not forget this moment. We are called to carry forward the impact of our faith. The river flowed on, its currents no longer a threat but a thriving symbol of life and movement. Pastor John nodded in agreement, pride radiating from him. Each of us has witnessed extraordinary grace. But now we must ask ourselves, how can we let this faith define our actions beyond this place? Timothy jumped in, excitement bubbling forth. Can we keep helping those who need it? There are more families downstream. His eyes sparkled with anticipation, urging the villagers to embrace this new chapter of service. The group murmured in agreement, their spirits soaring high in the light of purpose. Yes. We can't stop here, Hannah added, her voice imbued with the determination to make a difference. Imagine the impact we could have if we continue to extend our hands and hearts to others, showing them that they are not alone. A wave of inspiration swept through the group. Each villager began to visualize ways they could contribute more. Some envisioned organizing supplies, while others talked of offering their time and skills. In that instant, faith blossomed into community action, weaving a tapestry of support and love. Sarah looked at her son. What do you think, love? Should we lead the way? His small face beamed with joy as he nodded fervently, bubbling with eagerness. With hearts set ablaze, the villagers forged a resolute path forward. They gathered their supplies, their laughter echoing in the air like sweet melodies of hope. Accomplishing something greater than individual gain felt invigorating. As they drew strength from one another. As they began their new mission, they journeyed together not just as mere villagers, but as vessels of God's grace, ready to pour hope into desperate situations. The glow of their collective spirit illuminated the path ahead, casting away shadows of doubt. They marched hand in hand toward the families downstream, welcomed with smiles that could be felt from afar. Each act of kindness turned from intention to reality, as blankets, food, and listening hearts exchanged hands. The air hummed with gratitude. Each touched life rekindled the flame of purpose in their own hearts, reminding them that they were participants in a divine narrative, a constant flow of blessings reciprocated. Sarah glanced at Pastor John, his visage radiating a warmth of satisfaction. This is what the heart of our community looks like, he said, gesturing outward. Every child they hugged, every story shared, transformed their once quiet village into a vibrant hub of love and resilience. The ripples of their compassion spread, entwining with the divine tapestry God was weaving through their lives. As the sun dipped lower, casting rosy hues across the horizon, Sarah breathed deeply, tears of joy trickling down her cheeks. Moments like these remind us, she whispered to her son, of our purpose and power when we come together in faith. Timothy grinned, holding her hand tightly. And there are more miracles to come, right, Mom? Her heart soared, warmed by his innocent belief. Yes, my darling. Together, we'll see even greater things. This was not merely a day of miracles, but a testament to what upon fruitful faith could achieve. The community had chosen to embody grace, to remain anchored in trust despite uncertainty. As they finished their work, a flicker of golden light illuminated the night sky, embodying the very essence of divine love. It felt like a divine promise, a reminder that as they continued seeking His presence, more miraculous revelations were bound to emerge. Each villager smiled, their hearts growing fuller with every generous act, sacred in its purpose. They were now shepherds of hope, navigating the unknown together, ready for whatever divine lessons awaited them. As Sarah gazed into the horizon, filled with faith and belonging, an undeniable truth settled in her spirit: the journey ahead would be extraordinary, and as they walked side by side, guided by love, they would witness the manifestation of miracles beyond their wildest imaginations. But this chapter was only the beginning. If you've been touched by this journey of faith, it's time to become a part of it. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the message of hope. Comment your reactions and powerful testimonies about this ending, and how it has impacted your own walk of faith. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of God's love. You need to act now, because together, we can ignite a movement of true believers ready to embrace all that God has for them. This is the moment to show your support.